really good way to start the seminar. Yeah, sorry we're late. We had some technical issues with the live stream, so thank you for those joining us today in person and also online. So I'm the program lead for the CPE. Okay, we got some further technical difficulties of another nature. Everything seems to be going wrong, but hopefully we'll get started properly now. So I'm the program lead for the CPE, which you guys are all here to learn more about. And so I have a few slides of some basic information that many new students probably want to know. And these are questions that students have asked us before in the past. So I'm going to go through all of these slides, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me after my slides, or maybe just cut me off in between, and I'll try to answer as best as I can. For those of you online, just feel free to type in the chat, and I'll answer those questions as well. So this course is the CPE, so this is a very well-known part-time law program called the CPE. Everyone knows it as the CPE, but we actually have an official name, which you'll also see from, say, the pamphlet. So it's the Graduate Diploma in English and Hong Kong Law, brackets Common Professional Examination. That's where the CPE part comes in. And of course, we have a third-year option to top up this CPE postgraduate diploma into an LLB. So you would be awarded an LLB. For those of you who are familiar with what an LLB is, it's essentially an undergraduate law degree issued by a university. So our partner university here is the Manchester Metropolitan University, which we've got very good relationships with, and we've been working with them for a long, long time. So a little bit about the legal profession here in Hong Kong. So as part of the training and the pathway towards becoming a lawyer in Hong Kong, whether it's a solicitor or a barrister, is to go through the PCLL. So this is the postgraduate certificate in laws. So we have 3 providers for those in Hong Kong. We have Hong Kong U, City U, and Chinese U. So they're the only 3 providers, university providers of this PCLL course. So this is a prerequisite. If you want to be a lawyer, you have to take and pass the PCLL. So getting onto the PCLL is the biggest challenge before you want to get practicing as a solicitor or a barrister. So I had to do that as well. I had to get on the PCLL, go through all of those, and then the training to become a solicitor or barrister before you get to be admitted as a solicitor or barrister in Hong Kong. So this course is very special. As a part-time course, this particular course is structured in a way that helps our students get onto the PCLL. It's essentially tailor-made to get people prepared and onto the PCLL in the best way that we can. So it's designed for primarily this purpose. We have been very successful. We're very long-running. In a past informal poll that we did find a lot of applicants had been admitted to the PCLL successfully for those of them who had applied. And this is, of course, far more than any other English law program. And if you ask any current practitioners or anyone who's recently been on the PCLL, so I was on the PCLL a while ago, but even then, the predominant part, for the most part, the part-time students, or essentially all CPE graduates for the part-time students. We did have some full-time, but when I was a PCLL student, I didn't actually really go around asking where everyone went to school. That really wasn't something that people did. But in any case, the part-time students, they all seem to know each other because they studied together on the CPE. But that's, of course, that's not scientific or anything. That's just my own observation. So as I mentioned earlier, so this course is very tailor-made for the PCLL to prepare you for the PCLL. And as a reason for this, this course has been exempted from a lot of the other requirements. For the PCLL, you do have to have previous undergraduate law degrees or legal education of some sort to be even eligible to get on the PCLL. So for this purpose, this CPE, we do fulfill all the requirements. So we do teach all of these subjects that you need to be able to be eligible for the PCLL. Now, whether or not you can get into PCLL is another issue altogether. You do need good grades. I don't think it's any surprise to you that to be a lawyer, you need to perform in a certain way to show the PCL providers that you're competent enough to take this course, as the PCL is sort of a gatekeeper into the legal profession. It's the only one actually right now. So if you go through our course, the first 2 years plus the additional top-up LLB, you will have an undergraduate law degree. And that also exempts you from any other conversion exams. So you can go straight and apply to the PCLL directly. So when, again, I'll mention my own experience. So when I was on the PCLL, there were a lot of students who went on the PCLL from English universities. So they actually went abroad and studied an English law degree. What these guys had to do, they had to come back after, say, the first year, come back after the second year to do these conversion exams. These are conversion exams required by any eligibility for the PCLL. So these are non-negotiable. You do have to do it if you take any other regular English law degree. Now, what's very special about this course is, as you can see from the name, this is a graduate diploma in English law. Of course, we have Hong Kong law as well, and that are the Hong Kong prerequisites for the PCLL. So that's why we have both of these things. So this is a combination thing. So we have English law and Hong Kong law, and you do learn about both of these. Now, with a normal English law degree, you study in England, and you learn only English law. So then you can go practice as a solicitor or barrister in England, and you would have all the prerequisite knowledge over there. This, you are equipped for English law as well. On top of this, you will also learn about Hong Kong law. You might find that a lot more relatable, since many of our applicants, in fact all of our applicants, are in Hong Kong, they're part-time, many of them are working in Hong Kong. You will see some cases, perhaps in your studies, that you might have heard about on the news. This would be a lot more relatable. As far as, again, my own experience is concerned, you can see a lot of these, say, immigration laws when you learn Constitution. A lot of major decisions you might have heard in the news, and you might learn a little bit of a different perspective on these things. It's a lot more relatable, and when you study for law, it makes it a little bit easier. That was my experience anyway. So here's a very convoluted chart here of the potential pathways that you can take from this course. So starting from the top left, for those of you who are here, I assume you're interested in perhaps enrolling, applying for the CPE. So you start on the top left. You can take the CPE and avoid 3 PCLL conversion exams. So this would be 2 years. And like I mentioned, if you take the optional 3rd year, you would get the LLB. So the award would be an LLB. From there, you don't have to take any other conversion exams. You go straight to apply for the PCLL. Passing that, you would have to go through the training. If it's a solicitor, it's a 2-year training contract. Barrister, 6 months pupillage, 6 months, 6 plus 6 essentially, then you become a barrister. The other option, very convoluted, you start the first year here, so you take the CPE for the first year here. You have an option to transfer to the UK for your second year to finish your studies. Again, you don't have to do this. In fact, only a very small amount of our students actually do this, because most of them just stay here and take the 3 years. But again, just for the sake of completeness, you can do this, you have the option. We will facilitate second year students going to the UK. Again, this is only for the second year. You have to finish your first year here. And there are some other pathways for the UK, which I won't mention here. I'll just focus on Hong Kong for now, or else it will just get very convoluted. So a little bit about what students study in the first year. we do start off the course with the English legal system. So this would be an overview of the different levels of court in England, the law of precedent, common law, all the background, how the legal system works in England. So this is an introductory course to the English legal system. So you would only learn that in the beginning, and that will culminate in a test, an exam. So you'll take that first, and then before you can progress on to the other subjects. But this is a very introductory course. So the other subjects are the equivalent of the Hong Kong law aspect. So you learn about the Hong Kong legal system, our levels of court, so which courts handle which matters. Again, the similarities between Hong Kong and England, the common law, how common law works, and some key cases to get you into how case law operates in Hong Kong. We also have a module on EU law, contract law, tort law, and public law. So public law would be sort of large constitutional issues. This would, again, relate somewhat more interrelated with the English legal system, Hong Kong legal system, and EU law. So these are all related. That's why we put these together. For tort, this would be related to matters of something like negligence, duty of care, these kind of things, personal injuries, those kind of things that perhaps you might see in employee compensation claims and so on and so forth. Nothing so practical, just a theoretical basis before you learn about more practical matters dealing with these. As for contract law, I think it's self-explanatory. Transactions, how contract law works, how it's formed, how we had many of the contract law theories. You would have problem questions, different scenarios, and you'll run through all of these in this course. Really opens your eyes to a different way of thinking and looking at how our world operates in the eyes of legal practitioners and legal theorists. Sorry. I'd like to, I don't know if I mentioned anything about exams here, but let me just go through, no. Oh yeah, I do. Oh, okay, so I'll talk about that later. If any of you are concerned about exams, because in the past many students or prospective students do ask about exams and requirements for those. I'll touch briefly on those later. So I've already mentioned a lot of this, but to qualify as a lawyer in Hong Kong, you do have to take the PCLL. And in order to take the PCLL, we've got it all packaged here. If you just finish 3 years with us, you don't have to think about the requirements. You'll be all set. You just focus on studying and getting a good grade, and then you can get on the PCLL. It's been done before. It will happen again. So every year we have students going to the PCLL. So again, we are very credible. The PCLL does recognize us for exempting all of our students from taking extra conversion exams. So we really had no issues with this in the past, and we expect this to continue as well. So as you can see on the PCLL requirements, I just pulled this from the PCLL website. You can see that the requirements for PCLL eligibility. So you can see students will have to demonstrate competence in 9 core subjects. These are contract, tort, constitutional law, criminal law, land law, equity, evidence, business associations, and commercial law. Now, all of these are subjects on our courses. If you complete all 3 years, you will have taken a course in every single one of these core subjects, and even some more as well. So you don't have to worry about any of these requirements, because you would have satisfied it if you just take the classes, take the exams, and pass them. So that's all you have to focus on. You don't have to worry about signing up for conversion exams. You just take all your exams in-house. So these would be exams set by Manchester and set by us, and you would be examined here with Hong Kong U-Space. So again, our students have had a lot of success in the past getting on the PCLL. A lot of credit to the designers of this course and how this course has been designed, and worked with our PCLL providers to get our students onto the PCLL. As many of our students are part-time, this is a part-time course. But even as a part-time course, it is very intensive because it does finish in 3 years. So you can get a 3-year full degree undergraduate in law in 3 years, but this is part-time. So you do save a lot of time. You don't have to study perhaps on a different schedule as full-time students. This is done compactly in 3 years. Having said that, it's entirely possible our students do still do very well. There's more than enough time to study, and the classes are spaced out in a way where it's hopefully not too overbearing for our students. So as a part-time course, it does follow that many of our students do get onto the part-time PCLL, and Hong Kong U is the only provider of a part-time PCLL. So most of our students do end up applying part-time to Hong Kong U. Having said that, some students do prefer to focus or go all in and study PCLL full-time. Again, that's also been a possibility, and some students have gotten on to the full-time PCLL, and some with even government funding. So one other point that I'd like to bring up in relation specifically really to this year's intake is the guaranteed dual mode teaching. Now, as I kind of just mentioned earlier, to get the exemptions from the PCLL, there are some attendance requirements and some standards requirements that we have to uphold. Hence, there's a little bit less flexibility perhaps from us than others. And that might go a little bit, I can't say for sure, but it does go a little bit towards our recognition and our success towards the PCLL. Having said that, since COVID started this whole thing, we have adopted dual mode learning. So what this is, essentially, you are guaranteed online and face-to-face classes for our Hong Kong-based lectures. So our local lectures can be done online and face-to-face. So you can watch one lecture online, the next one face-to-face, or maybe you can even come face-to-face and watch it online anyway. That's also a possibility. You can do both at the same time. I don't know why you would do that, but that's an option. This is also would count towards your attendance. So we do have attendance requirements. Again, this would be required to uphold our standards of teaching. But understanding that our part-time students are busy, whether you have personal commitments, work commitments, or other life commitments, you can still just log in online and attendance will be counted for those Hong Kong local lectures. Of course, you can imagine for our Manchester teachers to fly over to Hong Kong and deliver face-to-face might not be practical in some cases, so we don't guarantee any face-to-face for that. They will come over, but it wouldn't be for all of the classes. So those ones would predominantly be done online. So a portion of it will be done online anyway. But they would still be live classes. So they would still be delivered live from the UK. Again, this would still be a special thing, and we don't guarantee this for future intakes. So as of now, this is still the last one technically. The last time we would run dual mode teaching. So for students who come in this year, we guarantee dual mode for their first year, second year, and even for the third year. For the third year LLB. So if you start now, what year is this? 2023. So 24 and 25, you can guarantee dual mode for all 3. So we don't want you to get in and say, oh no, dual mode's canceled next year. You have to do everything face-to-face. We won't do that. So we will guarantee for the full 3 years if you start this year. So it follows that if we're doing these things online, we will have a recording of the lecture. So since we have it recorded, Really, we see no reason not to upload the lecture recordings for our students. So in reasonable time, we do get these up. Students somehow, they always ask us, oh, how come you don't get these out so quickly? Well, the system does need to process it, and there's some reasonable time, but we still get it within 2 or 3 days. It's usually up there by the latest, which would be, I find a lot of students do tell me that they do like to go back. Sometimes the teacher talks too fast, or if it's an online class, maybe their internet connection gets disrupted, and they can just get back to that point. They write down the time, and you just rewatch it again. Or maybe they just want to pay attention in class, just listen, don't take any notes, watch the lecture recording, and then take their notes. Just a matter of style. I see no reason why we won't keep this around. So online lecture recordings will also be available for students to watch at any time. So there's no limit to how many times you can watch it. There's no limit to when you can watch it or when we'll pull it off. One thing I do want to add is if you watch the recording, that actually doesn't count towards your attendance. So the attendance would only be for the live classes. You still have to log in live at the same time. And you can't just watch the recording and have that counted for your attendance. So we won't do that. But that won't be a problem since everyone will go to class. Okay, so the assessments. So again, keeping in mind that law school is usually quite difficult. So you come in, it's not going to be like anything you've learned before. It'll be a completely new way of thinking. So you start off, we do ease our students in. So you start studying only the English legal system. So you get the base. And this would culminate in a 1-hour multiple choice assessment. So this would be 1 hour multiple choice. Really, over 95% of students pass this. The ones that don't pass, they get to resit it, and after that, most of them pass anyway. So once they pass this exam, you can continue on with the course. So that will just be in the beginning. So you get that out of the way. Just a multiple choice exam. Really not that controversial. We haven't really had many complaints about this. But pay attention in class and you'll be okay. Next, we have the Hong Kong Legal System exam. Again, this is multiple choice. You just pick the, I'm sure you know how multiple choice works. So you pick the best answer or the least worst answer of the options that you have. I believe it's 50 questions. Yeah, I can't remember. I think it's 50 questions. I could be wrong, subject to that particular year. But usually it's 50 questions, multiple choice. You get 90 minutes. And again, pass rates are very high for this. Of course, you still want to do well, but that's what you do there. For the public law exam, that is a 3-hour exam, and the questions are released in advance. Actually, this year this is no longer a 3-hour exam. This has actually become a coursework. So you actually get the questions before, and you just work on it and submit a paper directly to MMU. So this would be kind of like an essay or a problem question. It depends on the year. But you can essentially do this in your own time again. You don't have to come into the halls and do a written exam. So the same thing for EU law, that's also a coursework. So you just submit, it will be an essay, and you submit it directly to MMU's platform, and they will mark it. Now the substantial exams for the first year is contract and tort. So these are 3-hour, full-blown law school exams that you take. These are almost always problem questions. So it would be scenarios, unique scenarios relating to these types of laws, so contract law and tort law, which I briefly mentioned earlier. Oh yeah, so these are the textbooks that we get. So these would all be included in the course fees. You don't have to go buy them yourself. So most law schools actually they have these recommended readings, and all the students have to go buy the textbooks. And they're pretty pricey, but they are an excellent resource for you, and might help enrich your learning. But in any case, this is all included in the course fee. So for the exam, the problem questions, you might not know how to deal with them if you look at them now, but for each of these courses, we have tutorial sessions with a tutor, and all of our tutors are practicing lawyers. I've been a tutor on this course before. So we go through these question banks by MMU, who set the exam. So MMU sets the exam. They set the tutorial questions as well. So these tutorial questions are very similar to the exam questions. So I've seen both of them, and it would be really a tragedy if you don't pay a lot of attention to your tutorials, because those students who pay attention and prepare for the tutorials are usually the ones that do the best in the exam, because they are very similar. If you can understand the concepts, even the structure of the questions, they're very similar. There's only really so much we can do in terms of drafting a question in these areas. So more or less the same things will come up. So please, 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 for those of you who apply and get on this course successfully, congratulations. But please, please, please take advantage of the tutorials. So if you do, everything will be okay. Really good, solid advice for those of you who are intending to get started. So I did mention this before. So our pass rates are extremely high. You can still walk away with the graduate diploma and the top-up LLB for those of them are past students. Extremely high pass rates. Having said that, pass rates are one thing, getting on to PCL is another thing. Again, the best thing is all of the prerequisites are completed if you complete all 3 years. And you don't have to do anything but focus on your studies, because the grades are still important. Just from my own opinion, taking your exams in-house, probably a lot less stressful than going to take a standardized conversion exam. For those exams, first of all, you have to apply them separately, you have to pay separate fees for those conversion exams. And you never know with exams. Some things happen, you might know the material very well, but it might just not be your day. And some things happen, so on and so forth. You might have to resit it. Just a lot more uncertainty. For here, I really do think we have a very good package here. You can do everything in one go. Really just focus on your studies. So pass rates are one thing, doing well is a completely other thing. I'm sure most of our students aren't so much concerned about simply passing. You also want to do well. And for that, we do have all the resources here. Many students have done very well in the past and have been very successful practicing lawyers, law students, PCLL, so on and so forth. They've achieved their study goals. So what we have here is clearly capable of getting you there. I won't harp on too much in the past, but we do have very successful alumni who have been on this course. We have been running for a long time. So maybe that's why there's so many. Maybe it's just the law of numbers. Since we've been around for so long, we might even by chance have some very successful alumni. But for me, even in practice, I've met many brilliant lawyers who come up from the CPE, and I've worked with many of them. And that's really just from my own experience. I don't have the pleasure of knowing the judge personally, but I'm sure she has very great things to say about this course. So it can be done, and it has been done before. I'll measure this. Okay, so again, as the main part-time law education provider in Hong Kong, I can say we do get many, many, many applications every year. And unfortunately, we do have to reject many applications as well. There are some things that you can't really control, say the things you did in the past or anything like that. But there are some steps that you can actually take to improve your chances of getting onto this program. So we have foreign applicants. Obviously, we cannot admit all of them. We can only admit a certain amount. And as of today, I believe we've admitted already a third of our intake as of today. So it is quite keen, quite competitive. there are applications to sort out, and I'm actually going through each application right now, but I'll share a little bit about how you can improve your chances of getting on. Okay, really the most important thing that you can control right now is to submit your correct documentation and fill in the right forms. So a lot of applicants are immediately rejected due to having wrong or incomplete documents. I know for those of you who might have worked for a while, it might be kind of a pain in the end to have to dig up all of these past documents like transcripts, certificates, and all that. But unfortunately, it is a very necessary exercise for me to go through. It is a requirement that you do have a university degree to get on this course. So that's just how the course is structured. For those of you who don't have a university degree, it is still possible to get on this course, but there are some other means which I might not get into, but it is possible. Just ask us, email us, inquire about the specific ways that non-university graduates can get on. Okay, so the basic checklist is essentially the application form. You want to make sure you fill in the correct application form. Have your Hong Kong ID card copy ready. A degree certificate, degree transcript. They would both need to be there. Feel free to put in the marking guidance of your transcripts as well, so I can understand perhaps some different universities have different ways of grading. They might grade on more than 4-point-something GPA, or they grade out of 100. So if you want me to really understand what I'm looking at in the transcript, feel free to add that in as well. That would really help. I've also noticed that a lot of our applicants are now putting in supporting documents, and I greatly appreciate this practice, and I strongly encourage you to add any supporting documents, whether it be reference letters, recommendation letters, personal references, perhaps even a CV, professional qualifications, just really anything that tells me about you as a person, what you've done in the past, what you're perhaps working on right now, or anything even that you're proud of yourself. These would all go towards building your application. Just think of it as applying for a job. Just throw everything in there. I don't imagine anything would hurt enough. I've never seen anyone put in any supporting documents that I found actually hurt their application. Having said that, I'm not encouraging you to be very creative and find ways to hurt your application by putting something very controversial. But in any case, feel free to put in supporting documents. I find that very, very helpful for me. So the other thing is to apply early. A lot of our applicants do come in later because I understand it is still a pretty heavy commitment. So you want as much time as you can to think about your options. Think about whether I'm ready to do this, whether I'm ready to become a law student, and commit a lot of my time and mental energy towards trying to really do well on this course. So that might drag on a little bit, and a lot of students might actually end up applying later. And unfortunately, the case is, because we do get so many applications, some students who apply later might not get in because we've already filled up our quota, and we actually cannot admit any more. So I've had cases where I see applications come in of students that applied the previous year as well because they couldn't get on. Not because I didn't want to admit them, it's just they applied a little bit too late. So please apply as early as possible. Read the application form carefully, follow the instructions, submit all of the required documents. Don't think like, oh, maybe I can not submit this now, I can submit it later. Submit all your documents. If you get it in the first go, then we can process it immediately. If we have to go back and ask you for more information or clarifications, or ask you for further documents, that would kind of push you back to the end of the line. So that's not ideal. It's not a deal breaker, but it's not ideal. You don't want to have the headache anyway, so get it right the first time. Maybe even take a little bit longer to get all your documents together, because it would end up saving you time anyway. Or else we would have to check your documents and then send it back to you, and then you send it back to us, and then we process it again. So to fully benefit from applying early, get all your documents sorted. Again, this is kind of like a pretty good test to see if you're ready to become a lawyer, because you don't want to really miss any documentation. That's kind of one of the key things that we're really big on. So one thing I've noticed is that I haven't mentioned so much before is financial assistance. Now, this course is somewhat of an investment. There are some needs that our previous students and some current applicants are going through to obtain some financial assistance for this course. So what I'm told, again, we don't deal directly with any of these. We get no benefit from pushing one thing or the other, but I just want to show that this is an option for some potential students. Perhaps they don't want to pay even in one go. So normally we do have installment-based payments. I believe the deadline is July. So if you applied, is it July 1st?
At the beginning of May.
Beginning of May, okay, wow, that's pretty soon. Okay, so, wow, yikes. Sorry, yeah, definitely not July, that's too late. So beginning of May, so that's the deadline for having 2 installment payments. So you can pay in 2 installments if you apply before May. But there are also some other means, as in the extended non-means tested loan scheme, which is a bit of a mouthful, but this is a government-run scheme. So after you're, say you're successfully admitted, so we give you the offer letter, you can use this to apply through this scheme, which gives you essentially a low-interest loan, 1 to 2%. Very low interest loan for the sum of the tuition, so the fees. So you can get a loan for the full fees. I believe there's like a quota for this, some lifetime quota of around 400,000 Hong Kong dollars. So if you've claimed this before, as long as you haven't claimed all of it, you can still be eligible. If you haven't, then you should be okay. This will cover all 3 years easily. The other thing is the HKU Space MasterCard, I am told. Now, it sounds like I'm selling this card. Definitely not. This is just an easier way for us to have your installments paid. So you can split this into 10-month payment. This would be interest-free. Again, I get zero benefit out of this. This is an option for you. I believe this would be easier for our systems because it's a HKU Space kind of a thing. So if it's HKU Space, all of this can be done internally and sorted out. So you can pay in 10 different installments. Subject to your own credit limit, of course. So for those of you who've stuck around or you're thinking about it, please, if you do want to apply, email your application form to this email address right here. Or you can submit the application form and your documents to any Hong Kong U Space enrollment counter. I will give you an answer as soon as I can, going through some of these things every week. They do come in every day, but I try to get very quick responses for the most part. So please come and apply, and I'd be very happy to look at your applications. So really the next upcoming day is 30th of March, so the end of March. So this would be the last day to apply to benefit from the application processing fee waiver. Again, this is quite a mouthful. So you say $250. Yeah, I know, it's $250. Maybe it's not so important. Probably the price of the dinner nowadays. But the thing is, this is really kind of I suppose a mental hurdle. You don't have to pay anything just to apply. So it's kind of a zero effort thing, zero cost way to apply. So for those of you, maybe if you're on the fence, you don't even know if you want to do it, just apply first. You really have nothing to lose if you apply before this date. Again, you might think, oh, it's only $250. That's nothing compared to perhaps the full commitment. I might want some more time to think about it. you can still just apply now anyway. That would be my thinking. Really no investment but your own time and just a little bit of effort to get it through. So you can still do it at home, just email the application form and the documents. Okay, so I've been rambling for quite a long time, much longer than I would have liked. But if we have any questions, I'd be happy to take them now. Any questions? Okay, yeah.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
So the third year LLB, is it a course? Like,
Is it a course? Yeah, it's an option for our CPE students to take. You don't have to do it.
but in order to do the CLL, the certification process.
Yeah. Okay. So if you take the third year, you can have you can be awarded an LLB.
Which is the undergrad law.
It's basically an undergrad law degree. It's not basically. It is an undergraduate law degree. Yeah. So it's a full undergraduate law degree from MMU.
And then with that, you can directly do the CLL exam. Is that an exam, right?
There's no exam. You can directly apply to the PCLL. So that's another course, but that's not related to us. So that'll be Hong Kong U, or CPE, or
So
China.
that's another year, or?
The PCL is 1 year full time. If it's part time, it's 2 years.
Oh, just now you mentioned PCL can be full-time 1 year,
Yeah,
or part-time
2 years.
2 years, and then after you finish that, that's where you get the qualification.
After you finish PCLL, you can be a training solicitor or barrister.
Right.
So you still need the PCL before you can even start your training as a lawyer. So that would be you have to have the PCLL. So that's still quite a long way away.
Right.
Is that your question?
Yeah, but like, so some people would do the 2 years and then not do the third year LLB.
Actually, most of our students do actually end up taking third year, but that's the option. You can just take the 2 years and do the rest of the conversions. So you take the business associations and commercial law by yourself. So if you do the 3 years, then you don't really have to think about it. You just focus, take your exams here, and go on to PCL. Or you can just do the conversions, the remaining conversions. But that will be a matter for you then.
So after the third year here in this program, like you guys would facilitate us to get into like CLL
The course itself prepares you for the PCLL. Whether or not you apply, and your application would be done by yourself. Yeah.
So that's like a separate thing.
That would be a separate thing, yeah.
Kenny, I would like to ask, could you please introduce another route that working as a qualified lawyer in Australia instead of entering PCL in Hong Kong?
Oh, so the student is asking if you can take this course to qualify in Australia.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not so familiar with qualification in Australia since both of our students do take the PCLL route. Having said that, I have helped a bunch of students with what you call references for Australian qualification. This course is recognized by Australia. I believe there are some additional courses that you have to take specific to Australia, but as a base for legal knowledge, this does satisfy. I suppose that should answer your question. It wouldn't be like, oh, no conversion exams, you go straight to legal practice in Australia, but there would be a minimal amount of effort, a little bit of effort that you would have to take on top of this, but your core base would be satisfied. Yep. Does it? Okay.
Another question, David, is there a minimum GPA or degree classifications out of for this program?
So getting on this program,
Yeah.
minimum GPA? No. No, I don't do that. And I don't think we've ever had any minimum GPA, so we kind of look at it as a whole. So we look at, I'll look at all of the applications in front of me. I just speak for myself, and you just kind of take a look at the whole entire profile. Of course, it helps if you apply early, because then I wouldn't have as many candidates to look at the same time as opposed to those that apply later, or maybe there aren't so many spots remaining, so I have to kind of be more selective. So I can't really say there's a strict GPA. So sorry, that might not help you very much, but please put in as many supporting documents as you can, as I do find those go a long way.
And then, Jane, could you mind to discuss more on the calculations of success rate of PCLL?
The success rate of PCLL, I don't, you see, because we don't actually have the numbers from Hong Kong U, and I believe even Hong Kong U or the PCL providers wouldn't actually know the demographics of their students or keep track of them. I can't speak for them, but certainly we do not have direct access to this information. So we did, a number of years ago, we did an informal study to find the number of our own students who applied. Again, the students don't necessarily have to tell us that they're applying to the PCLL, because that is, like I said, is a separate thing. They have no duty to inform us, hey, I'm going to apply to the PCLL here, and hey, I got in, or hey, I didn't get in, or anything like that. It'll be nice if we could keep in touch with our students, but again, it's not reasonable. I don't expect anything like this. So that's why it has been rather difficult for us to get maybe a pinpoint number. This year we have so many percent, that we have so many percent. But if you could just ask around, perhaps if you know anyone on the PCLL, feel free to ask them about the part-time students. And I'm very comfortable in saying that a lot of them will be from this course.
Can I ask one more? I'm not from a legal law background, so I have no idea, but like, what do people do if they just do the 2-year or also the 3rd year but not do the PCLL?
So some students, they just don't do the PCLL. First of all, the PCLL isn't cheap either, and it is quite a time commitment. Again, just having legal knowledge, it does help you a lot. Having perhaps just the CPE or just the LLB, it does help you progress in your career in other separate ways. Legal knowledge has really never hurt anyone. if you think about it, like how could I possibly lose from perhaps learning from a different perspective of how things go? You don't have to do the PCLL. You still have another undergraduate degree. You do show that you have an interest in learning or improving yourself. I really don't see any way why this would be a bad thing.
But like, for example, like, I have no idea about the legal system, but like, if you're full-time working and you do a part-time study, right? You put a lot of effort in it. So like, what do people do if they put so much effort in studying and then they don't actually finish the whole like PCLL, like switching careers path?
Well, I don't know. That would actually be a matter for the individual. Again,
Like, I really have no idea.
I really want to give you examples. Most of our examples are successful stories. But there are a lot of students, they just don't do the PCL. A lot of students, they don't even want to do the PCL, and that's actually okay. But that will be a matter for you and your study goals. So I can't really speak for anyone in particular, because what works for somebody might not work for you. Perhaps in your industry, maybe having legal background could help you get a promotion. So perhaps those some people in law enforcement or compliance, they definitely benefit a lot from having a law degree. Maybe even in healthcare nowadays or IT, there are ways where a law degree will help you. Again, this might be very specific to the type of industry that you're in. Again, a lot of people don't really want to be lawyers. Maybe it's really not as cool as it looks on TV. It's really not for everyone, and you won't know until you actually get in and do it. Maybe after a few years, you decide, this just isn't for me, and that's also I'm sure not a small minority of students decide after 3 years is maybe I don't want to do this, but definitely I've learned a lot on this course. Again, this would be a matter for the individual. So I hesitate from saying any blanket statements about what would I do if I feel, I finished this course and I feel like it wasted my time. That would be regretful, obviously, but again, that would be a matter for the student. I do have more successful stories though.